So I decided to film kind of in the middle of a workflow. And so I was like, I should pull out the camera and just see if something comes through. And usually I don't do this approach, so I was just curious. Today was productive. I started out with my opening up my typo, my daily journal, created a new page, added a date, and then started writing what was coming through and what I wanted to work on for the day. And then I just started to narrate and log as I was working, as I was doing tasks. So made breakfast for the fam, journaled, I did a workout, and then I went to the coffee shop / bakery to go work. I worked a little more on the bakery case study that I'm working on with the owner of the bakery. I had a call with my team, with my designer, and then with my designer and my developer. And then I watched a video from my systems engineer and sent him feedback and moved things forward to prepare for the next sprint. And then I sent a few emails out to some investors that popped up into my field. I responded to a friend. I tried to call a friend back. I just wrote some little entries about thoughts of, I think it's wild that those tea bags that you'll get at places, sometimes they're paper, sometimes they're kind of like a little bit fabric-y, and then sometimes they're like straight up plastic that's made to look like fabric. And I was like, surely these are healthy. Like there's no way that they're just producing these if they're not like at least kind of seemingly okay for you. And I looked it up, and apparently those plastic ones, I don't know what they're like actually called, but it looks plastic. If you really look at it, you can tell it's not real. Like it's not from the earth, it's not fabric. It's like manufactured from chemicals from the earth, I guess. But anyways, billions and billions of particles are released when you steep your tea in that, of microplastics and plastic chemicals and stuff. So I was like, oh my gosh. That's wild. And so I'm definitely going to talk to the bakery owner when I do this sit down with her next, that she should, moving forward, she should replace that because there's real stats. And I'm going to also just like keep that in mind for myself as a consumer. And I'm also going to keep it in mind for myself as like a business person, because it's wild that there's so many products out there that if you just do one simple search, you'll find that it's very likely to be unhealthy, toxic for yourself or the world. Yet we just kind of avoid searching for that because we just don't want to know. But we should know, because then we can just make the simple change, and then we can help influence others. And that's what I think is holding this world back, is this like hesitation to up your standard for yourself, which is an act of self-love and an act of respect for you and everyone around you, for your ancestors, and for your future like generations. Because if you're just like poisoning yourself and poisoning the world when you don't have to, that's kind of disrespectful and just like oblivious and ignorant. And we all do it. I'm not saying that it's, I'm better than anyone else. I do it too, but we all have to figure out a way to like do it less and move forward, not in like a fighting way or opinion way. It's just like, as long as you feel like you're doing the best you can and you're happy with what you're doing, I'm not here to judge you. Like that's the general tone I think we need. But there also should be like fair laws to like not litter and things. But yeah, random thought. Yeah, and then call went well. The sprint went well this week. We focused mostly just on bugs and just improvements, things that could just be a little better. And I'd say we had probably a list of 100 things to do for that, and we probably knocked out like 40 and then added another 25. So it's kind of like 2 steps forward, 1.5 steps back. That's kind of the game post-launching MVP. And I think most tech founders could relate to that, is like you launch something that's, minimally viable, but you're working to make it like very effective and fun to use and find the product market fit. But there's a moment when it goes live when you realize how much more work you have to do that was overlooked, and just so many components have exponential needs to to get just right and to maintain. And when something else gets fixed, it may break something else. And so it's not as bad as it used to be with past dev teams and past, I think, where technology was at before, but it's still frustrating. But we're going pretty well. I'd say 2 steps forward, 1.5 steps back is pretty good out the gate of launching. And we're looking at hiring another dev, and we're looking at the amount of bugs that are getting added is slowing down, but we're still retaining the same amount of speed of output. Maybe slightly slower because we're more careful testing things in staging before deploying. But yeah, I'd say we're moving pretty quick, and I'm not worried. I don't think we're going to get bogged down for weeks and weeks and weeks in this state of fixing. We're pretty close. But I do think it'll be a few more weeks of prioritizing fixing and then adding like 1 or 2 features. So this week's feature we're going to be building out is some various like side improvements, mostly bugs, and then the feature is tiles. And we're not going to launch tiles until the week after because we're going to test it over the weekend and just fine tune it during the next sprint after this one. But my primary developer is going to, he's taking like his summer week off. And he had this planned even before we met. So he's committing to doing it, and I'm excited for him. But I'm definitely like, like a week is going to be hard to like pause everything, but it's going to be perfect. So we're just making sure that the sprint aligns with that. So there's nothing that we're like stressing on either side for while he's having his trip. As I emailed different CEOs that came up as I was working, I would see something, I'm like, okay, I'll email him. That looks aligned. I'll email her. So I sent like 3 investor emails today, and I put them on my typo. I even put like my calendar booking embed on it, and I tagged this journal inside of the emails that I emailed out to kind of show the use case of what social platform allows you to share your daily journals, and in such a modular way. It's kind of like if Google Docs or Notion was social. And so I'm trying to like show that in the way I'm expressing it. And then I wrote out kind of this case study for the bakery and where I'm at with it, and what tools I think she needs that in general and which pieces Typo will fulfill. And then I thought about how when you send an email out, it's like really catchy subject line that's just the right amount of personal, but also it seems like it's not going to waste their time, and it's catchy. So it's like personal and catchy. I think that's like the key with the subject line, and effective. Like clear. So clear, personalized, and catchy. That's what I would say. And then as far as like the first paragraph, I feel like it should be something that's heartfelt. I think of the emoji that's like the little envelope with the heart in it. So you're sending digital love. And that first paragraph should be that. And that should be like, here's how I discovered you, or I really related to that thing you did or that post you made, and here's my thoughts on it. And then you kind of tie that in to the next line of like, and why I'm speaking to you is this, or that insight you had relates a lot to this. Or I would, like, you could even like debate them and say like, I would argue that this would be this. And then it brings you into the next line, which is like introducing what I'm working on. Here's some stats on it, and here's why I think it will relate, and here's what I'm asking from you. Thank you. And so I was just working on like that framework. Maybe I'll make that document, giving myself more work to do, but maybe I'll make that document and put it in the link below so you can like click the typo link and you're able to see this framework of emails. I'll write that on my page right now. Make email template doc for YouTube. So yeah, I've been using Typo a lot, and like I'm using Notion less. I'm using it just as much for my workspace, for my team, but I'm using it less for like the journals because I'm doing most of that in Typo. So I thought that was really cool. And I had a big breakthrough where I was using Grok today because I'm kind of migrating from GPT to Grok to kind of see what happens. And a few things I noticed is it's so easy to migrate from OpenAI because I wasn't satisfied with the level of context and understanding and output that I was getting from it. And so I'm basically looking to find another AI. I'm like leaving that relationship. I'm considering it. And so I'm like setting up my Super Grok environment, and I'm very impressed with it, honestly. And I think that a few things that stood out for me was the fact that I can leave AI so easily from GPT because the depth of context was very linear and shallow, and the tools and customization was very limited. And so I felt like I was willing to leave them. And I think that means there's a huge opportunity in the AI space for the interface that solves those things I just listed, which is like the limited like optimization and modularity that the AI has, like customization, and then the linear and shallow context. And so that's one piece. And then another is, maybe I'll write this down so I don't forget, but like why AI is up for grabs. And then I'll write an article about it, because like GPT to Grok example. And then I felt like GPT was linear and shallow when it came to context, understanding, and output. And I also felt like it was limited and clunky when it came to customization, optimization, and just the general like UI/UX. Because I think there's something really powerful about how Grok says like reading, thinking, and then like, I wrote it right here, but it reviews, it understands, it analyzes, and then it exports. And so it has this like interactive way of saying like, okay, I'm taking what you said, I'm making sure I understand it. Okay, now I'm doing research, and now I'm making sure that what I'm about to give you is going to be effective, and here you go. And you'll see it doing that, and it's much more interactive, and so it feels more real, right? And it feels more useful too, because it kind of gives you this deeper context into how you can work better with it. Because if I was to talk to someone and they just would give me an answer rather than like asking clarifying questions and like kind of talking like, let me see, I think that, and they, you know, it feels more like natural. And so you can kind of like, it just feels more fluid and like connected. So I think that's a big piece. And then when I set up my Grok space, I asked it, I said, I'm working on an app called Typo, and it's typo.so. Do you know of it? And it was like, yes, we know of it. It's this, and it went through and grabbed content from YouTube. It grabbed content from Twitter, and it grabbed content from, or X, and it grabbed content from my website, and it gave me like a really good breakdown. And I was thinking, okay, so I can't remember the last time I really Googled something, and AI like SEO is really, really taking off. And it's not only taking off as a technology, it's taking off because it's shooting businesses. Their like sales are going like this if they're properly trending with the optimization. And other companies, I imagine, are getting overlooked. And so there's this like consolidation of brands that are taking the space of this new SEO. And so I was like, well, what's the name for this SEO? And I called my friend who runs a marketing agency, and he's like, no one can really like stick to something yet, but there's a few like coined names going around. And I was like, well, we should definitely like follow this wave and like create like a white paper and kind of banter about what this is, because I think that this will integrate into both of our businesses, and I think there's an opportunity here. Maybe it will lead to building some cool dashboard that helps people here. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's going to be helpful for our own businesses. So let's chat about this. And I was like, I don't feel like it will be, because someone said AI SEO, and someone said, he gave me a few examples of what people are saying. So I did research, and the leader right now is GEO. And I just feel like most of the world doesn't think of AI as this like generative thing. I think that's a very like nerdy, like AI developer like term. I think generation is really cool, but like this whole like generative thing, like like my mom's never gonna think of like generative, but she knows what searching is. And so I was thinking, what I think honestly chat is just makes more sense for most people. Granted, CEO is already this like really popular acronym, but I just like chat optimization. And I guess you could say chat engine, but like I like chat optimization. And so that's what I'm going to be like writing about. Because like chat engine, I'm like, well, why do we need to say engine? Like it's all about everything in chat on like public marketing side and like discovery, but also like optimizing chat for like team and ops and systems and self. So I like chat optimization. But I think it'll be something in that. I also think that AI, there's all these names for AI. It's like you go to all these like B-list tech companies and they all have like their own AI name. And it's like, this is, Civius, and this is Lowly, and this is Oracle, and this is, there's all these little cute like names of AIs. And some are better than others, obviously. But I just feel like chat, just like AI is just, it's embedded in every chat interface. And so I think just sticking with like typo chat made the most sense. We had Aura before that, ORA, and I like that, but I just feel like chat, just like ask chat. So with that part, I think that even further backs my approach of doing chat optimization. So that was another thing. And then, my friend just tried to call me. I experience like hypersensitivity and hyper-awareness and just hyper-focus and hyper-overthinking. And there is a lot of magic and superpower in that, and there's a lot of challenges and discomforts in that. And I realized it was a topic I need to shine light on in my life. And so here I am. As a kid, I definitely remember being more of a worry child than like my friends or siblings. I'd just be a little bit more one to consider options, consider risks, be it just a little bit more like agitated or neurotic than those around me, but nothing crazy, just like people eye roll when I would be a little bit more on edge than the average. And I didn't really have too much anxiety, but I was just slightly more agitated than the average, I would say. And then once my dad passed away, initially I started to numb it and hide from it and just be in denial of it. But eventually I started to feel physical tension and then mental tension and anxiety started to come to life. So it was like health anxiety, hypochondria kind of stuff, work anxiety, financial stability anxiety, pressure, I experienced like my first panic attack at 23 years old, and just started to learn to navigate that, what practices and habits were helping me and what were holding me back. And so over the last 6 years now, I've just been learning that process and making mistakes and avoiding things and facing things and making breakthroughs. And I would say 5 years now, I have my master's in anxiety, like 6 years. So next year I'll have my doctorate. And I should be pretty clear, because in the last few months, the last few years, but especially the last few months, I've been making some major breakthroughs. And one of them recently was when I would feel this impending like doom anxiety overtake me. Before it would overtake me, and I would get into this space where I would follow the thought and let the thought be the lead. This worrisome logic of worst case scenarios, what ifs, things to worry about, and I would follow it. And then if I got to the point where recently I've been able to step back into this state of awareness, and even though I'm feeling physical or mental worry logic, I'm able to say, oh, that's interesting. I've been through this so many times and I've come out the other end. I'm going to be okay. Let's look at this. And what do I need to kind of let this move through? And so it was really strange. I was feeling full on physical and mental anxiety attack coming on. Yeah, I was completely calm. I was like, I'm like calm, but I can feel it all. It feels very intense. But I'm not attaching to it, and I'm not letting it be the lead. And I realized one of the big breakthroughs for anxiety and hypochondria and overthinking is you let the thoughts that predict worst case scenarios, you let that be the leader when it's often and generally wrong. So imagine if you were a part of a tribe and there was a leader that was always making decisions that were wrong and very overly assumptive and overreactive. Eventually you would choose a new leader. It would be pretty silly to have that leader running the tribe. But as individuals, we let our anxiety be our leader and let the thoughts and the source of those thoughts feel like truth, when in reality it's generally wrong. It's pretty hot out here, so I'm gonna go in, but I was getting some sunlight. But yeah, it's a major breakthrough for me to kind of get my head around it and start to see my baseline getting to a point where I feel good. I don't feel like I'm under too much pressure. I feel capable of handling what's ahead of me. And when things come to me that should be or used to be like worrisome or stressful, you're able to sit rooted in this state of awareness where you can allow it to come, and you can, assess the different perspectives. It's kind of like what your awareness is the ability to kind of move between perspectives and find the baseline that has the most wisdom and the most presence and like authenticity to you. And that's ultimately what you want, right? You want to be able to make decisions and stay calm, assess the outcomes of your actions, and then take proper actions and respond and react accordingly so that you make the right decisions. It's the same thing in the middle of an anxiety attack or a state of fear. So I'm going to go in. Yeah, it's very hot. So, a lot of the things I've been doing have been work related, and there's points in the day where I kind of feel this like burnout. So that's been a big topic for me, and overworking is a vice. So I definitely need to allow that one to be a focus, and taking a break from caffeine is another one for me. and keeping up with my daily workouts, that's been a big breakthrough. And incorporating more mind training, meditation in my day. And then hopefully just continuing to see the anxiety dissipate and lose its default power over me, and let it be sort of like just one perspective to carry with me. Because it was developed for a reason, right? We have the worry side of our brain to protect us, and we don't want it to disappear, and we don't want to discredit it entirely, but we want to allow it to not always take the lead. Love you.